Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of this tutorial on how to make this dress. This video will cover some more pattern cutting and toiling on how to make the dress. Next up, I'm going to trace out our patterns again so that we have the originals and we can keep them to the side. If we then do a copy, we can now look at creating one single pattern to join the top part and the skirt part of the dress, because we want it to be one piece, not cut into two. I'm going to trace these out again now. And now I've traced out the patterns and made copies. I'm going to cut these out. Now I've got the patterns traced out again. We're looking at joining these two up so that it creates just one pattern. This piece had a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, so I'm just going to trim that 0.5 off, because the skirt has 1 centimeter seam allowance. And then I'm going to try and attach them together, and I'm going to do the same for the back. Now we've got these together, we're going to trace it out again and make some edits so that it flows as one piece and as one pattern. So this line we need to get straight because it's cut on the fold. I'm going to trace out the pattern and then edit it. I'm going to just shave this piece in and just mark here for the waist. We'll have to toile this again and make sure it fits okay and make any adjustments. And we're going to do the same for the back, where we're going to trace it out and then we can edit it to make it right. So here I'm going to just curve this in, add the seam allowance so we know what the seam allowance is. And I'm actually going to extend here so that we have a straight line rather than to back. Probably have some editing to do for this, but we can do this when we do our toile, because then we can try on, see how the fit is, and then work out what we need to change. I think also by adding a little bit extra to the back, we can then play about with it a little bit more and trim it off if we don't need it. So that's why I'm gonna extend this line here and make it come out all the way. And yes, and now I'm gonna just add in the seam allowance marks, and then we can cut this out into our calico and toile it again. I'm just cutting out the back in the calico, and then we can cut out the front. Now we have the front and then our two back pieces, which I'm going to pin together and then sew up so that we can try it on, see how it fits and make any edits that we need to. Next we're going to sew up the toile. Now I've got the toile on the mannequin and we're just going to make sure that it fits okay. I'm also going to try it on myself because the dress is to my measurements. At the minute it's not looking too bad. We also need to look at putting a zip in and basically just getting this the right fit now. So I have tried the toile on and I have pinned it so that I feel like I got the right fit, and just marked this roughly because it is just a toile. And I got my zip, and I'm actually going to have a go at putting the zip in and trying it on that way, just so I know where the zip needs to be aligned to. From looking at this, I might need to add a little bit more to the back. I'm going to get a more accurate picture of that once I have the zip in and can try it on properly. And I've got some fabric here which I kind of need to take out. I'm going to get the zip in and try it on again. I'm just going to pin my zip into place. I've now got my zip pinned into place and I'm going to sew it down. I'm going to use a wider stitch setting though, just in case I need to unpick it. And I'm just going to sew up the back seam. I've tried on toile and it's nearly there actually, but I need to just put the zip in slightly further back because there was a bit of extra fabric at the back which I want to get rid of. So I'm going to unpick the zip and just adjust that slightly. It was good here, but yeah, at the back we need to just take that in slightly. I've now adjusted the placement of the zip and I'm going to sew this up. I have re-sewn the zip in and I'm going to try this sample on again. Just got the toile on again and it fits a lot better this time. I'm happy with this and I'm going to now work on making the pattern for the over part of the dress, because we want this embellished fabric to come out and be really long, look really beautiful over the dress lining. Next up, we're going to make the pattern for the long dress part. And I've just got my lining pattern and attached it to the paper here, and I've measured 125 centimeters for the full length. So it's going to be quite long, and now I'm going to slightly flare this out. I'm just going to cut this out, and I've just made the lines straight for the centre front, and I've also just brought this line down as well to 125 centimeters for the total length. And just below this lining line where the shorter part of the dress is, I'm going to look at making this flow out a lot more because I want a bit of like a fishtail effect. So I'm going to measure this, which is 25.9. I'm going to divide this into 4 pieces, and 25.9 divided by 4 is 6.475, so about 6.5 centimeters. I'm just dividing this up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut and spread out these pieces. And what I can do now is spread out these pieces, and I just cut here as well. Spread out these pieces to create the flare in the dress. And when doing this, you want to make sure that they are equally spread out. And again, it is a little bit of trial and error because we are just trialing this. We don't know what exactly will look ideal for how much gathering to do. So let's have a look. I don't want it to be too spread out, but obviously I want to show the shape of the gathering. So if I just take this down, this one needs to be straight because this is going to be cut on the fold. So these ones just flare out a little bit. I'm thinking of doing 5 centimeters because I also need to add this to the back as well, and I don't want it to be too flared. Once you've measured these out equally, 5 centimeters, I'm just going to curve this out nicely. I might have to edit the length a bit because I've just made it a bit longer than what it might need to be, so I might make it a little bit shorter. Then we can fill this in with pattern paper. Yeah, we're going to do the same for the back. And next we're going to do the same with the back. So I'm just attaching this to my pattern paper, and then we're going to extend the centre back line. And again, I've made the full length 125 centimeters, and I'm just going to draw in this line as well. Here I'm going to measure the width. This width is 26 centimeters, and I'm going to split it into 4 parts, so 6.5 centimeters. Again, I'm going to just cut these pieces. I've got my pieces to spread apart like we did to the front, but I'm just going to put some pattern paper under so we can attach it. And just like the front, I'm going to measure 5 centimeters and split these apart. And I'm just going to curve this off nicely, and then we can cut this out. So now we have 2 patterns. We've got our front and our back, and now I'm actually going to cut this out into my toiling fabric for the overlay of the dress. So let's get this cut out now. I'm cutting these out on this fabric, which is like a foil material, just so it can give the similar appearance to the slightly transparent fabric I've got, and obviously this is a lot cheaper. So I'm going to cut these out, and I have the front, which will be cut on the fold, and then 2 backs. Now I've got my fabric cut out for the top layer. I'm now going to pin this into place and then sew it up to see how it fits. Just quickly, just to show you the dress so far, and we have the lining and then the voile layer, which will be the embellished fabric. I think after giving it steam I can get a better picture of it, but at the minute I think it's getting there. You can definitely see a little bit of a flare towards the bottom, and it's quite fitted at the top. Next I'm gonna try this on and see how it looks like on in real life, because sometimes it's quite hard to tell on the mannequin. But the sample is definitely getting there, and I think with a steam it will look a lot better as well. So this is the toile on, and I do like it, but I feel like the overlay fabric, the voile, could be a bit more flared out at the bottom, so I'm gonna try and edit the pattern to make it flare out more. After trying on the toile, I've decided that I'm gonna add a little bit more volume in the skirt of the dress, so I'm gonna edit these patterns to do that and just make it flare out just a little bit more. To do this, I'm going to cut these pieces out again and just edit how far apart they are. So last time I had 5 centimeters between everything. Now I'm just going to look at making it a little bit bigger than that. I've decided to measure this and make the difference 8 centimeters instead of 5 centimeters from last time. I'm going to measure that out. So it'll be about 10 centimeters wide at the bottom than what it was, because before it was about 15 on one side, and that would be 24. And I'm just gonna curve this off nicely again. I also want to make the length a little bit longer, so I'm gonna add, I think, about 5 centimeters, because I just want a little bit extra length. So I'm gonna add 5 centimeters to this, just as I'd rather the dress be a little bit longer and I can trim it, rather than being too short and then I can't make it any longer. And once that's done, I can then cut it out. And we can do the same for the back. And I'm just going to add the 5 centimeters to the length. Now I'm attaching this new overlay toile to the original toile, and just got to get the pins in the right place. So I've got the new toile on again, and it's definitely a lot more flared at the bottom, which is great. I'm happy with this flared like volume in the skirt part. I'm just gonna make sure I'm completely happy with this toile before I start cutting out. So I will probably just finish off this toile a bit better, because at the minute I've just pinned down straps and I've pinned down the back. I'm gonna probably have to unpick the zip and sew this top layer into the lining. And in terms of the sides, this top layer is not going to be trapped into the bottom lining. It's going to have its own separate seam like what we've done for the toile, and I might just cinch it in a little bit more. That is the sample so far. I've just added about 2 centimeters to the bottom of the front because it was a little bit uneven, so I've just made that a bit neater now. So as you can see, so yeah, the front was slightly shorter than the back, so I just adjusted that. And yeah, I've got the toile here, so now I'm actually going to cut out the final fabric, so that's exciting. I'm also going to just trace out the actual lining, because at the minute it's all like one piece. So I'm just going to trace out the top part for the lining. I can then have this pattern, which is for my overlay fabric, which will be the embellished fabric. Thank you for watching part 2 of this tutorial. Make sure to watch our next video, which is part 3 on how to make the dress. And in the next video we're going to be cutting out our final fabrics and making the final piece.